Hey everyone, Panyo here. Thank you for joining us on another episode of After Dinner Mints. I highly encourage everyone tuning in to join us in the Art Blocks Discord. A link to our Discord can be found in the show notes. As always, make sure you like, comment, and subscribe to our YouTube channel so you don't miss an episode of our show. And now let's introduce our guest for today. We have generative artist, DisruptedStar.
Hello, Ponyo. Very
How's
happy
it
to be
going?
here with you.
How are you doing
Fine.
today?
Yeah, it's the end of the day here. It's almost 6 p.m. and I'm very happy to be with you.
Awesome. Yeah, likewise. I know we're going to talk about your project, Voyager, but to kick things off for people that don't know much about you, maybe you can tell us a little bit about your background, both as an astrophysicist and an artist.
Okay. So I studied physics at university. And in fact, when I was studying physics in the first years, I was also taking classes on artistic paintings and so on as a student. And at some point, for sure, I had to concentrate on physics. So I stopped doing all these classic paintings and so on. And then I did a PhD in particle physics. So I work, in fact, at CERN in a CERN experiment, working on interactions of neutrinos with nuclei. And then after, I spent something like 10 years working on a cosmic ray experiment in Argentina, which was called the Pierre Auger Observatory. And then in 2008 or 9, I started to work on an astrophysics experiment, which will fly in space, hopefully next year. And okay, so this is what I did in my scientific career. But for my job, I will explain to you a little bit in more detail later. I had to work on some generative stuff, and then I felt in love with all the generative art movement we see actually, which I embrace, and I'm very happy to be part of it. I will give you more details on the trajectory that I took to arrive there.
Yeah, we're super excited to have you and to have your release on Art Blocks. So you just mentioned earlier, and then also in your drop talk the other week, you mentioned that you were in charge of an instrument which has kind of a generative process that would be that will be flown in space next year. Can you tell us about this instrument and the kind of the generative component?
Yes, exactly. So I have prepared some slides to explain to you what this is and how it works. Perhaps you can. Okay. So this is there. So in fact, I work in a X-ray gamma ray experiment. So it's a space mission. Okay, and we will capture X-rays from space. The problem with X-rays is that you cannot use traditional instruments like telescopes or this kind of thing. It does not work with this wavelength. So we have to use another technique. And the technique we use is very specific. It's called coded mask technique. So the idea is the following. You have a sheet of metal. You do holes in it. And when the light goes through the holes, it projects some shadow you can record. And in fact, with these different shadows, you can, in fact, reconstruct an image of the sky. And so to perform these holes in this metal sheet of metal, you have to produce some pattern. And this is where I started to develop some generative algorithm, very specific to this coded mask we are using for my experiment. And so I started to produce this kind of pattern you see on the right with a lot of holes, and all the holes are connected. And in fact, the idea was to be able to really dig holes in a sheet of metal. So this was really the idea. And so from this concept, if you want to see what it looks like in the end, so this is the actual real coded mask, the one that will fly in space. We had to work for 12 years to develop that because it's
Jeez.
very complex system. But you see, it's very nice piece of work because you see that there are all those holes there, and in fact, all the drawing of these holes have been performed with my computation, with the kind of things I showed you before. I produce hundreds of thousands of these kind of files, and then we selected the best pattern for the coded mask. So this is really science, okay? So this coded mask will fly in space next year, okay? But I started to produce some art with this algorithm. So in fact, you see here some paintings. Here on the two on the left are paintings I produced using this algorithm. It makes some kind of 3D sculpture, both with paintings, so it's interesting. And here it's a metal one, which is in my garden, because I carved this in metal with a laser cutting technique. And so this is okay. So this is really where I wondered at that point where I could what I could do with this with traditional art market, I would say. Okay. But because it is generative, I thought that perhaps I could do something generative with it on something like that. And this is where I discovered first art block. But at that time, because it was in December 2021, the Ethereum was at a very high price, and clearly the costs were very, very high. And so, and then after our block, which was the first I discovered FXH on Tezos. And then, okay, I said, okay, this is exactly what I can do because I am a skilled programmer. I program in tons of languages because I have a lot of experience in various languages. And I have really this algorithms thing in my head. And so I really thought that, okay, this is really something I can do. And then I decided immediately to produce my first artwork. And my first artwork has released the 13th of December 2021, and it's called Impression Number One. I'm sure a lot of people on FXH don't know that, in fact, if you look carefully at Impression Number One, you would see here some of the pattern that I shown before. Because, in fact, I put in this artwork some of the patterns that have been produced with the same algorithm I used for the one that will go in space. I'm sure a lot of FXH people don't know that. Okay. And then, okay, after that, I started to produce other artworks. I had really artwork I loved, but did not make any success. The first success I got was with Other Ways, which was has been recognized as a nice collection. Then there was this Spark Chamber. In fact, this Spark Chamber is a mix of science, because there is the cosmic ray. You see, in fact, you see cosmic ray tracks as seen by Spark Chambers, which is a device which can be used to visualize some particle tracks. And so finally, Extreme Waves, which was in fact had a good success. But then I have to change my account for security issues, because like everybody, when I discovered this blockchain, all this, I did not understand anything at all. So in fact, I did everything that is not good, like writing my seed in my laptop or whatever. So I decided I had to change. So you can still find this artwork under my this archival account. So I come to my big success. In fact, the real one, it's Cables and Clouds. Okay, it's an artwork where you see some hills with cables and clouds and birds, and eventually with colors. And so this has made it has been a really big success. Two of these have been exposed at Art Basel in Paris. I encourage people to read the article, because I wrote a detailed article with a lot of information in there. It's really interesting. And if I may, I want to say that today the floor of Cables and Clouds is around $500. But when I sold it at that time, it only sold for $40, which was not that much.
Yeah.
And in fact, I continue to receive today royalties of this for this artwork because people just pay their royalties, and it's really nice. And I say that because when an artwork is not really sold at a very high price at start, it's really nice to pay the royalties to the artist. I think it's important, especially on the fact that on our blog the royalties are not that high, because for example on Cables and Cloud it's 18%, which is quite large with respect to the 5% of our blog. Okay,
yeah.
And just to finish, the last work I did on FXH was Disorder, which is a collaboration with Tender Art, where this is abstract work, really nice one. The one in the center is mine, so I'm very happy. And I have to say that I don't know if all artists do that, but I collect my own art because I'm my first supporter, probably, I would say. So I'm very happy to collect my own work and to own it. Just that's it. I was a bit long. I'm sorry, Pogno. But if you
I love that you collect your own work. I think that's super important because then it shows that you believe in your work. It's not like people probably wouldn't collect their own work if they strongly didn't resonate with it. And as the artist, I think it's amazing that you do that. So I appreciate you sharing that. Yeah. Your artist name is DisruptedStar, and I'm curious to know what is the story behind that artist name.
In fact, I think I would choose a different name if I had to choose today, because in fact it was really long. Even at first it was tidally DisruptedStar, which is a huge name like that. Not really clear. Are you a star? No, it's not. It's not about star system at all, for sure. In fact, the idea was this. In the universe, stars are really common. Okay, there are 100 billion stars in our galaxy, and there are 1 billion galaxies in the universe. So 100 billion galaxies in the universe. So stars, it's really common stuff. But sometimes, in the center of the galaxy, there are what we call supermassive black holes. Okay, so you have black holes there which have millions of solar masses. So it's really huge. And you have stars which are in the vicinity of these black holes. Okay, they live their life for a million years without problems. But one day, they are a little bit too close to the black hole. And what happens to them is the following. In fact, they are starting like a normal star. But because of the gravitational field, which is really intense, in fact, they start to be stretched. And in fact, at one point, they are totally disrupted. In fact, the whole star disappears, just gas. Part of the gas is swallowed by the black hole, and the other part will go in the interstellar medium to create new stars or gas or whatever. And so for me, it was clear I'm a poor star during my life quietly, and suddenly there is this generative art, which is this black hole, which really changed my life and told me, because I have my real job, which I do, and during the weekends and at night, I have this generative art work. And so I have really a stretch between these two. So this was the idea. Okay, so that was the origin of the name.
I don't think you should change it. I don't know why you say that. You aren't proud of it, but I love the name, and I'm glad that you're able to provide a little bit of context for listeners. Yeah, I would love to kind of just dig in now into Voyager, which was released on Art Blocks just a few weeks ago. Maybe you can kind of kick it off by telling us about the inspiration and the process for creating that project.
Yes, for sure. So, in fact, Voyager really, what the original idea was, stands in this simple picture, which has been taken really by Voyager 2 in February 1979. And it shows Jupiter, this huge gaseous planet, giant planet. And you see these two moons, which are, I mean, these moons are at the size of the Earth. So, I mean, it's not, they are not small at all. I mean, with respect to our Earth. And here you have really an impression of giants with really these small objects. And in fact, I thought that some people were in a space center and discovered this image for the first time. They were the first to see this image of remote world. And I thought, okay, I think I should try to give the same feeling to the collector, that in fact he is there sitting in his home and he watches an image nobody saw before. So really, this was at the beginning of my idea. For sure, I've been inspired by tons of astrophysics images. I have to say that I do not work in planetary physics, for sure. I work in X-ray, gamma ray, so what we call high energy astrophysics, in fact. So I work on transients and black holes and this kind of things. Absolutely not on planets and moons. And but like everybody, I'm a space enthusiast, and I've been since I was a kid. I love space. I love space movies. So for sure, 2001: A Space Odyssey is really something. All the Star Wars, Interstellar lately, all these films, these movies are incredible, and they forge our imagination and dream, in fact. And so, and the second really where there was this matching is that when I see this image, I thought that, okay, I think I can do it with the mood of the technique I developed with Cable and Cloud, this grainy stuff which look like old pictures. And I thought, okay, I think I can make those two things match. And so I started. So I started in September. I had the idea a little before, but I started in September 2022. So it was a long time ago.
That's great. Yeah, I'm glad that you're able to, said kind of with the graininess and just the different, we'll talk a little bit about it when you kind of show some of your favorite mints, but I just love the visuals, the outputs that you're able to create. They're really lifelike and they almost look like they're photos, but it definitely has kind of that, unique touch, I think, that you add to each mint. Before we kind of talk a little bit about kind of the live rendering, what's the meaning behind the project name Voyager?
Okay, let me. I will explain just the drawing technique. So Voyager, in fact, because this picture I show you was taken by Voyager. The problem is Voyager, in fact, is the object which are the farthest from Earth, which have been created by man. Okay, so it is something. Yeah, actually, it is leaving the solar system. So I mean, this is for this object. This is why I wrote. In fact, it's for them that I wrote these two lines of the Dylan Thomas poem. Mm-hmm. Do not go gentle into the good night. Rage, rage against the dying of the light. Because precisely that's what they are living now. In fact, they are leaving the solar system. Actually, the sun is only a little dot for them. And in fact, it's the closest dot from them. And they are just entering into the night. It will take thousands and thousands of years for them before approaching another sun, another star, closest than our sun. So this is why I thought that this poem, which is revealed in Interstellar, was appropriate. So in real life, in fact, for them, it will take something like 70,000 years to reach a new system. But in fact, they have a nuclear battery. So in fact, it will stop working in the coming years. And moreover, in fact, even if they are close from a system, they will never be as close as the things I show in Voyager, because in fact, they will never approach to a system better than a dot or something like that. So in fact, for Voyager, it's the end. But I imagine that, okay, perhaps they would in fact come close from a system and send miraculously back the images to us. So this was the narrative, but we know it's just fantasy. It's just a dream.
Well, we kind of work with the artists work with digital art, and one of the big things that I really look at is how's the work presented. The live rendering, and I'm curious to know how you went through that process. How did you go about thinking how each mint would be presented?
Yes, in fact, it comes. In fact, that it is related to the drawing technique. Let me explain how it works. It's really simple. So, in fact, you have your Canva. At first, your Canva is empty. And then you just take a point randomly inside your Canva. And then you have to decide if you want to draw this point or if you don't want to draw this point. And then you take another point and you do that until the work is finished. Okay? So in fact, for sure, all the complexity of the artwork resides in the code which performs this decide, the decide function. And to do that, in fact, there are tons of mathematics because, in fact, there are no 3D libraries. So all the computation of the 3D effects are performed by hand. And I want to emphasize that it's very difficult to perform a convincing, realistic artwork because I did both. I did abstract work and I did realistic artwork. And I have to, for me, I find it very, very difficult to do realistic artwork with respect to abstract artwork, especially when you want to do a lot of variations. Because for abstract work, when you want variations, it's easy. You just stretch and you can play with the parameters as you want. But when you do a realistic artwork, you have some limits and you have to work within these limits. And this is really, this is my experience. I'm not as experienced as many other generative artists, but perhaps my point of view is not shared by everybody. But I find this is really difficult to do that. Okay, so it took many months to do that. I have to say, because it was my fear, I had some problem. This is when you start your journey as generative artist. I experienced some bugs in my codes with my previous drops. Even with Cable and Cloud, there was one which was buggy. Hopefully, I've been able to manage it with this person, but okay. But my fear was you have a problem, and in fact, people means and it does not render because there is a problem or whatever. Mm-hmm. So to avoid that, I produced thousands and thousands of Voyager every night. I was running batches just to be sure that there are no bugs not so easy to find. So okay, so it took like a lot of time. And so because of this technique of taking one point, you put it, it was obvious that in fact, instead of just waiting for the art to develop and just show it at the end, it was better to just show it rendering slowly and in fact mimicking what happens when you have the data arriving at the space center. You imagine you have Voyager, it sends data, you receive data slowly, and as the data arrive, you print them, and so you see it appearing just like if it was the data which were transmitted. So I really like that. Okay, but it helps me also because if you had to wait 30 seconds or 45 seconds with nothing on screen, I think it would be a bad experience. But I really like the fact that you see really the image built in direct live. I find this really, really nice.
I kind of going back to, I'm curious, and I have to ask this question. When you were talking about how you ran thousands of mints each night to kind of ensure there was no bugs, when the project was being minted, did you still have that fear, like that maybe something could still happen, even because it's out of your control at that point?
Yes, in fact, I was pretty sure that there were no remaining problems. But okay, I was not really. I was not. I was not fearing that.
Good. Yeah.
No,
I thought
I
you
have
executed it
a
really
lot of
well.
stress. Lot of stress because minting is at the moment of the drop. It's a lot of stress with this Dutch auction and so on. But I was not thinking about that.
Yeah. Good. Yeah. Well, the project is interactive. There are several keyboard commands that are listed in the project description. And can you kind of talk through some of those commands and what will happen when they're used?
Yes, for sure. It was my idea at the beginning, and in fact, I like to do that when I can. I explain. Sometimes, because I am a big collector myself, I collect a lot of artwork, and for sure, like everybody, when I collect something, and finally I have not a very good artwork with respect to the collection, so you are always okay. You are disappointed, but okay, that's life. But I always thought that it would be nice if people, in fact, just don't have just one image, but more than that. And this was really good with the Voyager stuff, because if you imagine that Voyager arrive and sees a planet with moons, you can imagine that you want to see different views of this system. And so I immediately thought I should provide a way for the collectors, in fact, to produce many different images of their artwork. So this was really the beginning. So you can do that. I will give you some example, but it is with the L, the live mode. Another point which is important for me is that if you collect an image at some point, because I do that, I do some prints, I don't want to be to limit the resolution, because in fact it happens to me a lot of times that I collect an artwork and then in fact I realize that okay, this artwork in fact you can only print it on a 10 to 15 centimeters, because if you want to go higher you will see the points, and so this is not good. Okay, so for me also I thought it's always the same. I want the collectors to be able to print their artwork as big as they want, and so I provide them this possibility. And so, okay, I can give this detail. Okay, so the resolution. If you want to change the resolution, you just press a number. So this is the DP you see on the left here, 2, 3. But you can go higher than 9 if you really want. But with 9, you can already print it on 80 centimeters times 1.2 meters, so it's really huge. The cost to do that is the time for the rendering, and you see that if you want to be able to have a 9 rendering, you have to wait for 70 minutes. This is life. You want to, if you want to have more details, it takes time to produce, but it worth it, because you see on this image on the right, I think I did it with DP equal 8. I'm not sure, but it was 150 mega files. But if you look at the details of the moons, if you increase the resolution, you see all the details, the tiny textures on the moon. So, I mean, it's really, really nice, and really I encourage people to do that for their work. But also, in fact, it works with live mode. And in fact, if you are in live mode, so you press L, you will see that, in fact, when it finishes the rendering of the first artwork, so in principle, the one you minted, in fact, at the end, it will produce another view of your system. And here it's an example with the min 0, the first one. So this is this one, in fact, the real one, which is you can see on our block. But in fact, I produced also these different images. So it is with the same planet. You do not change the planet. Okay, it is your planet. You do not explore all the worlds. You just explore your own world. Okay, and the space feature remains also. So here you see there was this Einstein ring, and in fact you can see it on other things. You would not see a comet appear here. Okay, there is an exception to that. I have to explain. It is in the case where you have a planet near encounter. So this is the mission phase where you see the planet in really big and you don't see any space at all. And in that mode, when you are in live mode, you can make appear any astrophysical objects in the sky. So for example, this is the mint number 2, which belongs to one of my children. So you take this one, you go in live mode, and you see appears a nova, a comet, a large Magellanic cloud, because in this is the only ones that have this possibility. But no gravitational waves. I have to stress.
Got it.
Okay. And the final one, I have no slides for this, but you can also have a fit to screen, pressing the letter F. In that case, it adapts to your screen, any screen, TV display, whatever you want, you can adapt to it and let it render. There is it's very important, there is an interactive guide, which is there. Okay, you have the web page and the PDF. It's really important because there are a lot of complexity, in fact, in this. And so I try to really give use cases. So if you want to do that, do that. If you want to do that, and give all the comments and the thing. But I think it's really important to try to do that for the people who really want to dig a little bit in Voyager. They are really enthusiasts. There are people who really like it because of this interactivity and what it allows. Yes.
Yeah, it's almost like the artwork is alive when you can kind of interact with it. So we'll make sure to include those links inside of the show notes.
Yes.
I want to kind of briefly talk about project features before we dig into kind of your personal favorite mints, but maybe briefly you can talk a little bit about some project features, such as, I'm curious what gravitational wave feature represents, and then also the meaning of a cluster.
Yeah, I will explain. Okay, so for gravitational waves, I think it attracted a lot of interest. So here you see an example of gravitational wave for the mint number 258, which is really nice. So you see that there is this, in fact, deformation, because pressing the letter G for the ones who have a gravitational wave allows you to see the artwork without the presence of the gravitational wave. So in fact, it produces really nice diptych, while you have the one which is the standard one, and the one with the gravitational wave. So what are gravitational waves? In fact, there are some compact objects like black holes or neutron stars, which are in the universe, and sometimes they merge. So in fact, it is shown here on the right, when the two objects are really close. When I say close, I mean it's like 100 meters one of the other. In fact, they are rotating like this. So imagine you have mass of the sun in an object which is 20 kilometer diameter for a neutron star. So really, really small, compact. And you have two of these objects which are, let's say, 50 meters away one from the other. And they are rotating like that, one around the other. And this, in fact, is a great perturbation of the space. It creates and this perturbation of the space is what we call gravitational wave. So now they are detected in experiments like LIGO Virgo, which in fact are starting a new run in the forthcoming days. So this is not science fiction, and this is real space deformation. But in fact, I have to say that they are rather small, in fact. So here, clearly, this is my artistic interpretation, because when the gravitational waves go through Earth, you don't see any effect, because, in fact, it's too small to be detected by the naked eye. Okay, so this is the gravitational wave. And for the cluster, I have no slide, but the idea was the following. If you take the 100 parsecs around Earth, which is really the vicinity of the Earth, of the sun, so it's let's say 300 light years around our sun. In fact, there are two clusters of stars. So it means that there are some region, because the space is almost empty, okay, when exceptionally you have stars. But there are some places where there are a lot of stars, and these are the clusters. So you have two clusters, which are called Coma Berenice and Iadis. And these two clusters are exceptional dense region with a lot of stars. And so I created these clusters with my interpretation, once again, artistic interpretation. So you have this kind of light, which is producing some strange patterns on the sky. Okay. But they are not so often. I mean, I think it's something like 5% for each of these clusters. So there are not much.
Well, let's dig into some of your personal favorite mints.
Yes. Okay. I selected 3 because, in fact, I think these are the ones I would really want to have in my collection. In my collection, I would really want a planet near encounter. I selected this one because it's really nice. You have this Jovian with like Jupiter-like planet with a nice moon. But in fact, I would say nearly all planets near encounter are interesting because when you are in live mode, you can make appear all the astrophysical objects. You can have all the nebulas, all the clusters. You can have all these features. And I think that for exploration, this is the best. So I want one planet near encounter for live mode exploration. For sure, I would like a gravitational wave, and especially this one, which is really incredible. It's a really nice one with because in addition, you have behind a nebula, and you have these unknown structures, which I've never seen them in space. But okay, I cannot say it does not exist. And these are artistic liberty, freedom. I mean, imagine that there are these. Someone says something really nice to me. Says it looks like particle trails of spacecraft in space, like the planes that left some trails in the sky. Mm-hmm. It was really nice. And the last one, I think the supernova has been really, people really enjoyed it. So you have this one, and this one is really special because I think it's ranked number 2 in the collection. And moreover, it belongs to, I don't know how to say it properly, Stalker. I don't know exactly how to pronounce it, but it's the biggest collector of the Voyager collection because I think he has 20 or more than 20 of them. So he really enjoyed it, and he collected the number 1, the number 2, and so on. So really, and I thought I would really take the opportunity to say thanks to love this collection as much as he do. Okay, as he does.
Well, I really appreciate you sharing your favorites and talking about Voyager. It's a beautiful collection, you know, from 1 to the end of the collection. And, you know, we'll include links to, you know, all the features and different descriptions in our show notes. But, you know, can you tell us where people can learn more about you as an artist and any other projects you have in the future?
Yes. Okay. So I exclusively communicate through Twitter. So my Twitter name is TidelyD because the original name of my artist was Tidally DisruptedStar. So I thought this was what Twitter gave to me. I will not change it for sure. I have a website where you can get information on a lot of things I did, and even on the coded mask, on all my past collections and these kind of things. And you will find there the Voyager website, where I explain all the features, all the technical details, and I give also the interactive guide is there. You have also some movies I created for advertisement or for to thank the collectors or this kind of thing. So there are a lot of material there. So do not, I mean, if you want to go deep in Voyager, it's really something you have to read.
Love it. Well, Disrupted Star, thank you so much for being on After Dinner Mints today. It's just great to learn about your background. I feel like I could talk to you probably for hours just about
Yeah, for sure.
your love for space and just about this project in general. So I really appreciate you being on. To all of our listeners, all of our After Dinner Mints discussions are available as a podcast. Make sure to check us out on Spotify, Apple, Google, and Amazon. Finally, we have an Art Blocks newsletter that gets delivered once a week with information on upcoming releases and generative art related news. You can find a link in the newsletter. You can find a link to the newsletter in the description of this YouTube video. Thanks again to Disrupted Star. Make sure you comment, like, and subscribe to the Art Blocks YouTube channel. Be kind to each other, buy what you love, and we will see you next time. Thanks, Disrupted Star. Appreciate you.
Bye. Thank you.